And welcome to another Way for Tech. This is a channel where we are trying to create a better technology, better digital products. We asking ourselves questions such as how can we make our products more user-friendly, more accessible, and more inclusive. At the same time, making money and being profitable for obviously owners of those products. Now, in today's video, I'm gonna walk you through 6 steps. Very simple steps that will help you go from an idea of the app to actual Figma files designed ready for your developers to work with. Now, why I'm making this video, a lot of people who have idea about the app, they go straight away to Figma and they start designing some screens in Figma, and they just get lost in branding, positioning, naming, colors, fonts and stuff like that, and spending a whole day doing so, they don't actually have any kind of usable flows. For some people it works and they somehow get out of the chaos and have ready to be used designs. But for majority of people, they really struggle with that. So that's why I wanted to show you very simple steps to be kind of more user focused and more kind of process focused before looking at the actual UI, because as you remember, UI is like at the final kind of stage of any product. The beginning of it is, and obviously that's why that's my first step would be, is like, what problem am I solving for the users? Now, this is a question that I ask not only founders and maybe less experienced people in digital space, but also very senior people in very big companies. Whenever we work on new product or new feature, this is something that I would like them to clarify. And I put it in a form like this. My product will help specific people to do X, right? So here we want to be very specific around who are those people we're helping, and specific but not super lengthy, and what to do, what is it going to help them with. So here I've put for you example for Revolut. If I was to use this format of description of the product, I would say the app helps frequent travelers to exchange money on the go. Now, as you can see, it's very specific in terms of who the people are, the frequent travelers. Not just we don't want to say everyone, or I don't know, very generic. We don't want to be very generic because that will make it more difficult for you to create a targeted product. And also we say specifically to exchange money on the go, because they can do it in the app really quickly using a card. But as you can see, we put it in a very short sentence, and that's what we want to be aiming to be quite short, quite specific. We don't want to create a sentence that is like going forever or going on to 10, 20 different sentences. Okay, this really allows us to focus on what is the purpose of our app, the main purpose, and then stay on that target as we design, as we progress with the product. Now, this I will cover it in maybe other videos, but this will also help you to create better marketing pages, landing pages, descriptions of your product and stuff like that. So this is something like you really want to spend some time with. You will see that it's not very straightforward as it seems. I've been doing this for quite a long time now, so I hope I got a grasp of it, but you will see it's a very useful exercise. Okay, now that we have our problem statement, we're gonna look at next step, which is finding good examples. So in this video, I'm focusing on creating app that is in financial space. Let's say it's an app that allows people to transfer money very easily. So before I start any designs or anything, I usually find good examples of similar apps or apps that are in the similar field. So as you can see here, I've kind of downloaded and kind of put together several screens of the Revolut, then also TransferWise, Cash App, but also sometimes I go and just find apps that maybe not necessarily on the same subject, but are part, like I like the UI of it, so I like the interactions, so I kind of add this in for inspirational kind of bit, right? So if you can't be bothered with downloading the app, which is always the best approach, you can always use a website called Mobin. It's a paid service, but it's quite cheap and it's totally worth it. Basically, it allows you to see screens and flows of different apps in specific categories. Benefit of that is that if you don't have particular app available in your country, so for example, in the UK, I don't have Cash App, you still can see how it works. It's got pretty cool interface in my view. As you can see, you can see like all registration, all interactions and things like that. The internet is quite slow for some reason, but you get my point. It's really, really useful service, so I totally recommend it. After we've got those examples that I really like, I go to the step number 3, which majority of people never kind of think about, but it's very, very useful. So it's basically creating main action flows of your app. And what are the action flows? They are actions that people will be taking in different journeys. So of course we will have some onboarding journeys, registration. Because it's an app that allows you to transfer money, you obviously will have somehow to add money to your app, so you will have some kind of flow for adding money, adding contacts because you want to send it to someone, making transfer, but also edit profile and reset the forgotten password. These obviously will change depending on what kind of app you're working on, but making those action flows is very, very easy and very, very useful because that creates for you a focus in terms of what screens you're going to be creating, okay? Trust me, it also validates your logical thinking because you can make it more complicated in terms of, or more advanced in terms of, you know, creating loops and things like that. So if a user has to go back in the journey and things like that, and you can actually see where the journey doesn't make sense or becomes too complicated and things like that. So this is super useful. Honestly, it takes 15 minutes to make and it will save you a lot of time later on. And as you design your screens then later on in Figma, you can actually check and don't have to think again. You just check this flow and you create screens as you go. So here, obviously, we start with dashboard. So if somebody wants to add money to their app, so the dashboard, they will probably have some kind of button. So obviously the black squares represent screens and blue squares represent some kind of actions or buttons on those screens. Obviously, it's not super prescriptive. Don't go too crazy on that. This is just to make it easier for you to remember what the flows is, and what it contains, what different options you have in the flow. So don't worry about too much about different shapes and stuff. So anyway, start with dashboard, click on add money. You will have add money screen. On that add money screen, you might either add new method, or if it's first time user, you can change the method. Here we're going with the change method screen. With change method, we'll have select method screen. So we'll probably have different types of, on the same screen, you will have different types of payments. So new card details, new bank, Apple Pay, and whichever is selected then is being added, and you have payment methods changed, confirmation screen, and then you obviously land back on add money screen where you can finally enter the amount you want to add, click add money, and money is added to your account, confirmation screen, and then you're back on the dashboard. Also in this occasion, it's good time to think about where you can have potential error screens. So I like to adding them because then I don't forget about them, and developers definitely will need those screens. So this is really straightforward. I really recommend doing this. It will keep you more focused, and you will check your own logic. You will see if you're not making the flow too long. Once I was working with one client that when we've created flow of his application like this, it was crazy long, and he then only realized how long it is So it is very, very good practice to do so. After we have a flow, I very often move to wireframes. So wireframes are a very high level designs, but they're not focusing on branding, colors, fonts, spacing or anything like that. They are very basic mock-ups of elements that you will require on the screen in order for your app to make sense. Right, so as you can see here, nothing is really aligned or designed really nicely. In some cases, I'm even using like placeholders instead of text or some components, because this is just for you to kind of start thinking what you will need to have on the screens. This is a great way also to discuss if you work for a client, or like if you work internally somewhere or you're doing it for yourself. This is really good stage to discuss also with developers or anyone who needs to kind of sign off on this. This is great for initial conversations. So you can create the whole flow that we have here in wireframes as such, and then you can discuss with your team. Well, you can discuss with your stakeholders, or if you work in a company, you can discuss with developers as well before going into designs, because designs will take more time and you will get distracted with, like I said, branding, colors, logos and images and so on. So this is a great step in between the flow and designs. Okay, really recommend that. And the fifth step is naming and branding. Like a lot of people go crazy about naming and branding, especially branding. They spend days and days on researching and looking for colors and stuff they like. So obviously you can now find hundreds, thousands of designs on Dribbble or Pinterest. I would strongly recommend being careful with using designs from Dribbble or Pinterest, because there's a lot of very amazing designers doing really good job designing stuff. Sometimes they go really, really creative on this, and actual designs, even here provided on the screen on the right hand side, they probably might be not very not necessarily always user-friendly or accessible. Sometimes colors are not accessible, not enough contrast, and they're just very creative. So they just go really, really crazy creative, which is great. But remember, like, if you look at the actual apps that make money and are doing well, they are actually very, very simple. They're not very creative. They're super simple, super user-friendly, user-focused. So you can go for Dribbble or Pinterest in terms of colors. Like, you can get ideas of colors. But if you're looking at layouts and functionality, I would strongly recommend looking at the apps that are actually existing apps rather than imaginary apps on Pinterest and Dribbble. Okay, now going back to name, like I said, people go really crazy about name, which is understandable. But if you want to kind of really quickly get an idea of like potential name, you can use Luca, which is a really cool website. You can just type in what is the keywords that are related to what you're looking for, click generate, and that will obviously return some cool names here. In loans, costume, whatever. Like, you can play around with that. You can also change the length of characters, which is really cool as well. Don't go too crazy at this stage with your name, because the name can be changed very easily. So don't just get a placeholder to begin with, and then once you have an app designed, you can actually think about, or you can hire someone who can come up with a name for you and the logo as well. Okay, now, so sixth step is obviously creating now finally stuff in Figma. So what I do in Figma is based on my branding that I found on Dribbble or from other existing application, what I do, I don't go too crazy in terms of creating library. Like, you can create design system, but I wouldn't recommend creating it very big to start with, only because in my view, it will take you a very long time. Plus, you need to have very excellent knowledge of Figma, and it will just distract you from where you want to be at this stage. So I wouldn't recommend doing it right now. I would just go with some simple font, very simple font. You can even Google best, fonts for startups or something like that. There's always some cool fonts available. Just make sure they're legible, they're not too crazy. So simple font is good. A couple of colors for yourself. I have here some kind of panel, because sometimes it can be useful. Obviously buttons and some fields, because you will need that for registration and stuff like that. Now, once we have this, what I usually do is I copy across my flow, which we have here, adding money flow, and then I start thinking about how different screens what they might look like. So obviously this is based on, as you remember, on my wireframes, which I've wireframed here, a dashboard. Obviously I've added a couple of elements here, some kind of additional options to navigate. Obviously put some bottom nav as well. You can also add some titles underneath, which would be better actually user experience, definitely easier for people to recognize when there is something underneath. And as you can see, people obviously in here, because we follow this flow, so somebody's adding actually money, so they click on add money, then they click on change method, and they select the method, let's say debit card, enter the information, have debit card added, and then obviously they back on the add money screen where they actually enter the amount they want to use, pay with card, confirmation, also error. Like I said, I like thinking about errors. At this stage, I didn't make it red because sometimes some people get really scared of red colors, but you can make it red if you want to. And obviously we are back on the dashboard with our money added here. So once we have this flow, it probably will take you, depending how advanced you are with Figma, it could take you, anything between 2 hours to let's say a couple of days. But I strongly recommend just following this flow. Once you have this flow, it will be much easier for you to think about our other areas, such as onboarding, registration or login, and dashboard and account. Those going to be key screens that you will need to think about. If you're struggling with some illustrations, you can always download some here and draw a really cool site. You can just type in whatever you like, you're looking for, and then also you can change the actual color, so it will match your branding, like I did here. Okay, guys, so this is very kind of straightforward. I hope those are the 6 steps. Like I said, remember to start with this problem solving kind of statement. It's really, really useful, and it will save you from getting distracted and thinking about 1 million features that your app will gonna have. Just thinking about what is the main goal of your app, right? Like I said, then some good examples of other apps, then some main flows, very simple wireframes, kind of branding and naming, and then jump into Figma to create this. Okay, if you want to get this Figma file for free, there is a link below this video, and you can click on that link and download this file and change it as you like, play around with this, change colors, images, copy, and so on. So that's available for you for free. Use it for yourself. All right, guys, this is everything that I wanted to cover today. Thanks so much for listening to me. I hope you found it interesting. If you like this video, please click the like button below. If you want to see more of these videos about, better experience on the apps and kind of user experience, better digital products, please subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions or comments, please comment below this video, and I see you very soon in the next video. Bye.